Welcome to this lecture, which is how to select cells in your Excel worksheet. In this lecture, you will learn how you can select a continuous range of cells in your worksheet. You will also learn how you can select a non-contagious range of cells. And then we'll talk about selecting a column or a row. And finally, you'll see how you can select a range of continuous and non-contagious columns or rows. Okay, when you use Excel 2010 for storing, managing, and analyzing your data, you will eventually create worksheets that are more sophisticated. That is, the ones which can grow and change as you store more and more data, rather than the examples you work on throughout this course, which are only meant to get you started in Excel. Therefore, in order to store, manage, and analyze information in a better way, you need to learn different selection techniques which come in handy in different situations that the Microsoft Excel 2010 offers. Now, in order to learn about different selection techniques, let's work on to create an example worksheet that demonstrates how you can make use of the selection functionalities that the Excel 2010 offers so that you can handle your data in a better way. Take a look at the following figure. And let's say your task in this example worksheet is to record the items you purchase online throughout a month. Now again, in order to store, manage, and analyze the data in your Excel worksheet, first you need to break your main task down into smaller tasks so that you can visualize what and how you can store and maintain this data in your Excel worksheet. And as you can see in the figure, you clearly need to create 3 columns in your worksheet to store the item name, the date when you purchased the item online, and the price that you paid for each item. One thing to notice here is that since you need to record the date and price, so you can also apply the date and the currency formatting to these columns in your worksheet. Alright then, let's just open Microsoft Excel on your computer so that you can work on this example task. So just go into Start menu and click on Microsoft Excel. And the first thing you're going to do is to save your worksheet. So click on File, Option, and in the pull-down click on Save. And let's say again I'm going to choose Desktop as the location where I want to save this worksheet. And I'm going to name this worksheet as My Online Shopping Details. And then press the Save button to save your worksheet. Next, you can also rename this worksheet down here so that it reflects its purpose. So I'm going to rename it to April Online Shopping Details. And as you can see in the picture here, the first thing we're going to do is to create the column headers. So the first column header is item name. The second one is date purchased. And the third and the last one is price. I'm going to resize this column so that the text fits in. And I'm also going to make the column headings bold. And now it's time you type in the actual shopping data. So let's start with the first one, which is gold chain. And the date is 27th April 2014. And the price is $7,000. Then the next item is wrist watch. And the date is 29th April 2014. And the price is $800. The same way the next item is jeans. Date is May 1st, 2014. And the price is $180. And the last and the final item we're going to enter in this example is the sunshades. Okay, now that you're done entering the actual shopping data in your worksheet, the first thing you're going to learn is how to make continuous range selection in Excel 2010. And just to tell you a little bit about the continuous range selection in Excel, it is perhaps the simplest type of selection you will often perform in your worksheets. And a continuous range of cells is basically a block of cells in your worksheet that has a shape of a rectangle. Now, in order to understand it better, let's say you wanted to select all the column headers in your Excel worksheet so that you can also apply the italic formatting to all the column headers. And I'm pretty sure that you may have already understood that how you can do that by following the previous lectures. But let me still go ahead and show you how you can do that. In fact, there are a couple of ways you can do that in Excel. And one way is to click on the first cell and hold down the right mouse button and drag it to the right to select the other cells. And as you can now see in your worksheet, the continuous block of cells now looks like a rectangle. And in order to make the text italic, simply go ahead and press the italic command on the ribbon. Another way of doing the continuous range selection is basically to click on the first cell and hold down the Shift key and then use the right cursor key on the keyboard to move right and include as many cells as you want in the selection. And as you can probably guess, in the same way you can use the other cursor keys to select the cells on the left, above, and below the current cell. Next, instead of just selecting cells, what you really want to do is to select the entire date purchase column so that you can apply the date formatting to it. And you can do that by clicking on the gray box which contains the header letter B, and as you can see it highlights the entire column. And in order to apply the date formatting, simply right click on it and in the pull down click on Format Cells, as you already know. And in the dialog box under the category list, click on Date, and let's say in this example I wanted to use this date format, so I click on that and then I press the OK button. As you can see, the date formatting is now applied to this column. In the same way, you can apply the currency formatting to the price column, so just click on the gray box containing the header letter C to highlight the entire column, and then right click Format Cells. In the dialog box, choose the currency option under the category list. And let's say for this example I'm going to choose the fourth currency format in the list, and then I click on the OK button, and that applies the currency formatting to the price column. And as you can probably figure out, that in the same way you can select an entire row. Therefore, simply point to the header number of that particular row and click on it. And as you can see, the entire row is now selected. Next, at times you may want to select the adjacent columns or rows or probably cells in your worksheet to perform some kind of modifications on them. And Excel surely offers a way to do that. And let's say we do it for the columns first. So in order to select the adjacent columns, what you will do is to select the first column that you want to include in the range, and once you select it, simply press and hold down the Shift key on the keyboard. And let's say you also want to include the date purchase column and the price column in this range selection. So what you're going to do is to click on the third column, which is the price column, and as you can see, all the three columns are now selected. In the same way, you can select multiple rows if you want, so you simply highlight the first row, then you hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and click on the last row that you want to include in your selection. And as you can see, that selects all the rows. You can also use the same approach to select multiple cells. So let's say you wanted to select these three cells, so you simply click on the first cell, hold down the Shift key, and click on the last cell. This selects all the three cells. Just remember, the key to this selection is basically pressing and holding down the Shift key on your keyboard. Alright, finally, in some situations, you may want to select non-contagious cells, which are also known as non-adjacent cells. And as you can guess from the name, it is a cell selection which does not form a neat rectangle as it did when selecting the continuous range of cells. Let's see what it means to select non-contagious cells in your worksheet by working on this example. And let's say in your online shopping worksheet you want to select the cells which contain the items gold chain and sunshades. Although you would say that you can do it individually, but imagine when you're going to routinely update your online shopping worksheet, eventually it will contain a lot of data. And selecting one cell at a time to apply a common formatting or making modifications individually would really be a pain. And that's exactly when selecting multiple non-adjacent cells technique comes handy in Excel 2010. The key to selecting non-adjacent cells, columns, or rows technique is basically the Control key, as opposed to the Shift key when you make the continuous range selection. Therefore, let's see how we can do that in Excel 2010. And let's say we're going to first work with the columns. And in this example, what you really want to do is to select the first column, which is the item name, and also select the third column, which is the price column, so that you can apply a background color to these two columns. So in order to do that, what you will do is to first select the item name column, and then press and hold down the Control key on the keyboard, and then select the price column. As you can see, you just selected the third column and the first column. Now in order to apply the background color, simply pick it from the bucket. So let's say I want to apply this color. And in the same way, use the same method to select non-adjacent rows or cells. So let me just show you how you can do that. So let's say you wanted to select the header row and the last row, which is sunshades. So in order to do that, simply select the first row and then hold down the Control key on the keyboard and click on the last row. As you can see, the first row and the last row are now selected. And finally, you can do the same thing when it comes to selecting non-adjacent cells. Let's say for some reasons you wanted to highlight the gold chain and the price with a different background color, and you can do that by clicking on the gold chain, then press and hold down the Control key on the keyboard and click on the price, and let's give it a different color. And finally, one more thing I want to show you before we conclude this lecture is that you can select the entire worksheet by clicking on this little arrow that you see on the left top hand side of your worksheet. So if you click on it, it basically selects the entire worksheet.